Just one, take one.
I'm Hervé Ekué, the Global Managing Partner of A&O Sherman, capital markets lawyer and financial restructuring lawyer by background. One case I would want to talk to you about today is the restructuring of the Dexia Bank. It was a massive case. One day, after having been in the firm and for about 12 years, I received a call from a client asking me to come to a meeting for a very important case. Dexia, which was a state-owned bank and by the French state and the Belgian state, needed to go into restructuring. They had a massive amount of debt, and that debt needed to be restructured because the bank was about to go under. It was a massive case in the sense that, we were given not one, not two, not 100 contracts of the bank, but we were given the entire contractual portfolio of the bank. We had access to everything within the bank, and the idea there was to make a restructuring of this bank without the bank falling. It involved about 20 jurisdictions in this case, and I had about 35 lawyers working with me for 4 years of intense work, very intense work. There was a lot of public money involved, and it was our duty to make sure that the bank didn't fall so that we preserved the public money. Towards the end of the restructuring, we ended up deciding that we would split the debt between, the bad assets and the good assets, which led to the creation of a new bank, a bank then called Phil, which was carrying all the good assets that would continue, to operate. And we've never done that before. A massive case, a very interesting case. Very international, very complex, working in teams, working extremely closely to the clients. Our role as lawyers was to help the bank establish a strategy. And that was based on our analysis of the law, our ability to compare the various roles at play, our ability to read the contracts and determine what the strategy of the other side of the creditors would be and what would be acceptable to them. It was a very strategic case. Very strategic in the sense that, again, we had to come with very innovative solutions to allow creditors to believe in the long-term ability of the bank to recover. The main risk in a restructuring of this kind is that if we fail to deliver on the restructuring plan, the bank would become bankrupt and would have to close. And that was an amazing success. This was a high-profile matter. At the end of it, my personal profile and profile of the team has quite significantly changed, to the point that, a number of large restructurings, financial restructurings, landed on our desk after that. The relationship you build with the team and with your client in such a challenging environment are absolutely incredible. Some of these clients today are, I can call them friends really, because we did spend a lot of time in the trench trying to resolve really key strategic and important challenges. And the fact that we were successful meant that the relationship between us are absolutely amazing. The experience we all gained from this amazing case was, absolutely incredible. The second case I want to talk to you about is a bond we did, a bond issuance by the European Investment Bank, which was the first ever multi-dealer bond issued on a public blockchain. And that blockchain was Ethereum. The exciting piece is that in a blockchain technology, everything is instantaneous. This project came at a time where the existing regulation didn't quite capture the blockchain technology because the legislation predated the blockchain technology. So we had to interpret the existing legislation and try to make the new technology fit with the existing, relatively old legislation and make sure that we were doing it in a way which was absolutely legal. The project was very successful because not only the bonds were issued, they were oversubscribed, and then the entire market called us at the back of this transaction to understand what we did, how we managed to go around the various challenges. On the market, people felt that, okay, this is an absolutely new avenue, because using a blockchain technology in the financial sector means that everything we've learned for the past 20 years, we had to disregard it and apply this completely new field, this completely new technology. It requires some innovative thinking. The testament to the importance of what we did is that a number of jurisdictions at the back of this transaction have adopted new legislation to cover bond issuance on blockchains. The third case I want to talk to you about is the first ever green bond issuance in Europe. This case is interesting because that's where, the legislation, the legal advice have an impact on the society. A green bond is a transaction whereby an issuer will raise money and dedicate the fundraise to green and sustainable projects. Okay. It aligns with a number of net zero commitment that a number of companies have. So the impact on the planet is important. Our role as lawyers is to make sure that the disclosure of the issuer in his prospectus is appropriate relative to the existing legislation, is appropriate when it comes to managing the risks for the investors, and making sure that the investors invest in something they have a really good understanding of, but also that it satisfies their desire precisely to put their money in a project which is meaningful when it comes to sustainability. It is very, very rewarding for us to be able to do this in a meaningful way, balancing the risks for our client, issuer in this case, or balancing the risk for the investors when we are advising the investors as well. And that has resulted to the EU Green Bond Framework that applies in exactly the same way throughout Europe.